Hello, Arcane here for another true story for Arcanium L'Histoire. Here I am in Eureka, California during the COVID-19 shutdown. Finally, there's a Humboldt County order for all of us to wear masks in public. Social distancing is now a standard here in our county and hopefully throughout California. Of course, I have other issues with a recent diagnosis of chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. Even before this happened, I was trying to get help from the people that I live with to do what they could to not trigger my chronic post-traumatic stress. It was simple things, simply clean up after themselves. When I need privacy, to just leave me alone and not speak to me. However, my landlord and roommate has bad boundaries, is intrusive, and doesn't acknowledge the distance, the respectful distance that roommates should have. He is not a member of my family. I am an at-risk group. I am over 50 and I get bronchitis twice a year. Twice in my life I have had pneumonia. I have had pleurisy. I carry an inhaler and an EpiPen. And even though I've let my roommates know about my post-traumatic stress and being in an at-risk group, only one of them respects social distancing and wears a mask when he's around the others. He's a home health care worker. He's our newest roommate. He's a great guy. However, my landlord is in cannabis compliance, has clients coming by, no one wearing masks. He goes out into the community unmasked. He moved in his girlfriend, who is a grifter, who receives mail here under 3 different names. She is also a prostitute. She is a sex worker. And I know 3 different people who have told me that she may not be working as a prostitute right now, but she's still on Tumblr trying to get her ass laid. She doesn't use protection, so she is one of the most dangerous people for me to be around. And yet, she won't wear a mask in the house when she comes back to do her laundry, and so, again, I'm exposed. I live in a cloud of bleach solution spray that I'm constantly spraying every time I leave my room to protect myself. Because I really don't think that my life should be taken from me because my landlord has bad boundaries and bad judgment. And because he doesn't respect the fact that he is not a family member. He is a landlord and a roommate in that he should be using his own things and not my things. I have removed all of my things slowly from the kitchen. I will remove more of my things as they are out of the house, and I am at less risk personally to do so. This man makes over $300,000 a year and yet has no compunction about eating my food. At this time, I have no income and all I have is $200 on an EBT card. He is worse than a slumlord. He is willing to take advantage of a woman who's got a diagnosis of chronic post-traumatic stress disorder who only has $200 on an EBT card a month. Okay, that's who he's willing to exploit. Had this person respected my boundaries, I probably wouldn't be expressing the type of illness that I am at this point. Had he not shown such bad judgment to move in a grifter prostitute during a pandemic, I probably wouldn't be so stressed out and wouldn't be so symptomatic. But as it is, everything's a trigger now. I've lost all composure and I'm angry all the time. I'm not going to allow this to continue. I'm going to focus on my meditation and isolation. Ignore these people when they use intrusiveness and bad boundaries and don't respect social distancing. And Jeff and I are resolute in getting our finances together and getting out of here as soon as possible, because this person just has too many at-risk behaviors. Also, this neighborhood, now there's just such an influx of homeless people, more than ever before. I feel like we are more at risk. I mean, everyone made fun of me because I wanted a security gate on this back door and be able to lock the fence. Well, guess what? It took a break-in by a violent offender for me to get a security gate on my back door, but I finally got one. I may only be here for another 3 or 4 months, but I feel much more secure. Because the honest truth is, even violent offenders are goddamn lazy, okay? And if they can break into a house that's easier to break into, that doesn't have security doors and locked gates, they're going to. It's just a fact, folks. So yeah, I'm going to fight for my life on every front, whether it's against violent offenders breaking into my home or against an intrusive landlord with bad boundaries. Now that you have some idea of the battle that I'm fighting, let's take a look at some of my little victories, like this beautiful camellia. And the plants growing against the fence there. There's a climbing pink rose and a fuchsia, and none of that would be there if it weren't for my care. This here is a beautiful purple rose that I have transplanted and cared for. It's my herbs. Now, shelter in place, since I can't safely use the kitchen in this house anymore, I had to construct a little outdoor kitchen. I also had to construct a windbreak because it gets very windy here in Eureka. Since my roommates were so incredibly unclean, every time I clean the fridge, I go back and there'd be more spill, and it was just horribly moldy and rotten in there. No matter how much I cleaned, our vegetables in the crisper would go bad within days. Since I've moved my kitchen outdoors and I use a cooler for a crisper, even though it's not refrigerated, just because it's cold here and it's clean, my vegetables are lasting a lot longer. This tarp affords me privacy when I don't feel like being looked at or having to engage with these intrusive people. So I just pulled out this tarp and cleaned it, and I'm letting it dry. It was very, very moldy. So this is my sanctuary. What little sanity I have left is due to the fact that I created this for myself. Again, this was a beautiful fuchsia that they were just going to destroy because they were putting in a water heater. So I saved this fuchsia and I have transplanted it around in different areas, and it has just taken off. And I'm very proud of that. And over here we have some lamb's ear that I transplanted, and a geranium. And then there's lilies. There's lilies known as naked ladies, and I have other lilies planted here. This is a red rose that I transplanted that again was not being cared for, not flourishing, and was about to be taken out for some work on the house. So I just transplanted it back here so I could enjoy it. This is a tea rose known as a peace rose. So when this rose blossoms, at first it's a very light pink, and then as it fades and blossoms out, it's like white. It's almost like a cloud in at sunrise or sunset. It's white and pink and yellow and orange and very, very pastel. And I think that's why it's called the peace rose, because it so resembles like a cloud. And this rosemary is really struggling. I'm not giving up on it. It was just getting run over again and again by cars and by the trash cans, and again, it was a plant that was just being neglected and abused, so I brought it back here. I'm not giving up on it. I think I need to try and trim it back. I'm not sure why it's died such a terrible death here. But let's see. Like I said, I don't give up, and I've seen many plants come back from worse. So I'm not giving up on this rosemary. And yeah, here's my sanctuary. So I'm looking at a long time in isolation because I am in an at-risk group. I know that I have immunity issues. Allergies are an autoimmune deficiency. So unlike other people who can go back and join the workforce, that's not going to be an option for me. At least not until there's a vaccine, which may be a year or two. So I'm going to be looking for some online work and hopefully make something out of this YouTube channel. I also have my art posted on my YouTube channel. I can ship this art all over the country. There are small pieces that ship easily. So, like, share, and subscribe, as they say. If you enjoy my content on my channel, my storytelling, my poetry, my art, I'm going to attempt to post in each category once a week. So look for that. And again, thank you, my few subscribers. I want you to know that I'm no longer on any other form of social media. I've taken myself off Facebook and Instagram because I see them as negative and not constructive. I don't see these social platforms and this social media being used in a constructive or artistic way. And it's manipulated people to the point where I don't know if my fractured culture will ever come together again. In my family, we have always had a division of Democrats and Republicans, but we always loved and respected each other. And, since Trump was elected, that's gone away. The Republicans have demonized and actually call us Democrats, which is horrible. And many of my so-called liberal Democratic family members have unfriended other family members on Facebook over this bullshit. And the truth is, if you're a liberal, you're supposed to be open-minded and listen to the opinions of others, which is kind of lost on this generation. So I think people need to really examine their behaviors and decide who is benefiting from these behaviors and these social media, okay? And choose to engage in more positive ways with our family, our friends, and social media. I find YouTube to be more engaging and inclusive and creative than the other forms of social media. And I know that there is a lot of policing going and demonetizing, and that no platform is perfect, but I prefer this platform as a content creator. And am going to look into Patreon and other ways of making money. One of the reasons is because I don't feel that my content should be for children. I'm talking about adult subjects. So in some ways I have limited my audience on YouTube because I will not open my content to people under 18. That's my personal choice. And I understand the limitations of that, but I think that adults don't do enough to protect children. In this age of information, there's so much misinformation. I believe that if there were an adult present, my content would be appropriate for young teenagers, young adults, with an adult there to explain it. But I don't want a 9-year-old listening to one of my poems about post-traumatic stress or sex. It's not appropriate. It's appropriate for adults and maybe for young adults with an adult present, but no. And as a content creator, I have control over that. I think that every person who is creative should hold themselves accountable and responsible. Maybe it's because I come from early childhood education that I live this way. I don't just think this or feel this, I live this way. On days when I am nothing but angry and I cannot control my use of language, I prefer not to go out because I would not want a child at the grocery store to hear me say fuck. It's not appropriate. And until I have a better handle on my chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, I am going to avoid children until I can behave appropriately around them. At this time, because I am so stressed, every other fucking word out of my mouth has been fucked. And actually that I'm only dropping the F-bomb at the end of this is quite remarkable. Again, I want to thank all of my subscribers, you the few, the brave. Thank you. And please like, share, and encourage other people to subscribe. Stay safe, be compassionate, be careful. Arcane for Arcanium l'Histoire.